Hello, my name is Alexander, and I'm going to be going over my code for the 319 class. I'm going to start in Vex, and then I'm going to be going over to the material builder. So here, I'm starting with the paint wrangle, and so here are my sliders, my global scale, which changes it up, the mush, so it goes from the x-axis to the y, the different types of colors for the flakes. If you start messing around here, you'll get different results. Here I have the density, the sharpness, and the foreground density, and so I'll go over these flakes in a moment. But here's my code. Up here we have all of the sliders for the smooth parameters, the color vectors for the colors, and then the global scale sliders. So the thing is, I have a smooth in my code, and the reason why I decided to add the two parameters to it, so here, right, the slider 1 and slider 2, was because I think that especially when it came to going into the code and doing the fine detailing of figuring out how many specific speckles do I want and how many specific, the amount, I found it easier for an artist perspective to have both, so that way they can control both sharpness and the density. And so that's why I decided to keep it there. And so going on here, I have this noise which I use to multiply on another noise. So I have that like going in depth, having more diversity. It's not just a flat color, it's just more lighter, more darker. And here's just a combination of those noises. Here I have another noise which is for the mask, for it to basically subtract the points, and so that way it retains that information and I can multiply with a color. And then here I just have two other different noises for the speckles and for that metal layer. Here I combine all of the noises into ones, and then here's just my final colors and with the combination of all the different layers. And then my output for the final, the specular, and the code color. The reason why I decided to keep the code color into the code itself was just so you only would have to technically change the colors here, and you would receive the color that you want. If you wanted to change the code itself, although I kind of like how it was already are, so it would be predetermined. You would have to go to the material, but I honestly would just leave it how it already is. But the colors here work pretty well. Here's the out for the base, which is what's being seen. Here's the out for the specular mask, and what I was mentioning earlier with that other noise here, basically it was just so all of for a noise, the depth, so from it going lighter to darker, it would keep that up. And then just the code color basically. And so here in the material library is specifically, so it starts here with the surface. I have my base up, my metalness up, the specular, the coat, and then the roughness on the coat. And then no thin film, I didn't find that to work. So basically what I did here was the Karma Ray import. What it basically does is that it analyzes all of the rays of lights that are hitting the ball, and it just takes that value and puts it into a node. So by taking this, I pass it through a multiply, which basically just turns it up. And then with a normal node, I put it into the phasing ratio, which what it does is that wherever the camera is looking at, it would concentrate on this side, and then the edges of the sphere would be the color of the coat. So the way I set it up is so both base color and coat color would go into this mix, and it would just come out as the base color. So the base color is seeing the base, well, the main focus, but is also taking the color from the coat and adding it to the edges. And this coat is also going into the shader itself to further push that coat. Then it's the specular, which is going into the roughness. So when the light hits it, it only glows and only shines from where the speckles are. And so from there, it's just to my surface output, and that's pretty much as I did from the material library. And so that's the breakdown for my code and the way I did my sphere and backs. Thanks for watching.